Okay, so welcome to the third and final day of M365 Philly Virtual. Today we have another impressive lineup of speakers, and after the final presentations, we're going to come back to this virtual room for a closeout session and a raffle. During the closeout, we thought you might want to hear from the organizers on how we put the event together, and we're going to be selecting a winner for the raffle from out of random from the registration list. So we're going to keep registrations open, but the cutoff is going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern. So you have an hour to register if you are one of the many anonymous people who are tuning in. We will be giving away a $25 Amazon gift card to the winner. So next up, our third and final keynote speaker is someone who's actively involved in the Office 365 community. He is a co-organizer of the Office 365 Saturday New York, and frequently shares his experience with the community through other SPS events and boot camps. He's the co-author of 4 books and is the CTO at Soho Dragon. Please welcome Peter Ward.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, so let me share my desktop and my audio. Do I want to share? Yes, I do. Okay, thank you, Jason. You're, I'm assuming, down in glorious Philadelphia, are you?
I am, yes.
Okay, yes. And New York got a really big thunderstorm yesterday. I did a talk yesterday, and then I got home, and it was actually torrential rain. So the New York humidity really did start building up quite intensely on that. So I'm Peter Ward. I'll give a few more introductions. So I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. These are the sponsors, the Tri-State Office user group. Jason, do you have anything to do with that user group?
I do, yes.
And how often does it meet? Is it meeting in person or remotely these days?
We have gone to remote, and it looks like we're going to be remote at least through February. We meet the second Tuesday of the month, every month, like clockwork. And in December, we do lightning talks to promote new speakers. So what we do is each speaker who's interested in presenting can get 15 minutes to do a quick little demo, and we move on to the next person.
Right, very cool. Okay. And when you physically meet, where are you meeting?
We usually meet at the Microsoft office in Malvern, Pennsylvania, okay, which is a suburb of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I know it very well from the SharePoint Saturdays there, actually. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me just move your screen. Right. Okay, so I'm doing the keynote speech for the third day, and what I'm going to be talking about is collaboration, coordination, and the future of Office 365. A little bit about myself. I'm the founder and the CTO of Soho Dragon. We're a Microsoft partner. We do a lot of stuff with Teams and Microsoft Data and SharePoint and Azure, and that's really our bread and butter. But we typically, because we're based in New York City, focus on the financial space. My skill set is the SharePoint Office 365 components. I also have a column Forbes that I write periodically. I'm the co-organizer of SharePoint Saturday, as Jason said, and also for a meetup, which we meet once a month, called Teams Tuesday. Based in New York, when it comes to projects, I'm very old school. I like my projects on time and on budget. And my hobbies are yoga, vegetarian, cooking as well. So just out of interest, can everyone put in their chat just like where they're located? Like, I'm from New York, Jason's from Philly. Where else are people coming in from? I'm just throwing that in the chat window.
Okay. Just so you know, there may be a 10 to 20 second delay before they start typing.
That is right. Okay, so just throw it in the chat window, and I'll give you shout outs for the locations, and people better be telling the truth here as well. We'll be checking IP addresses on this. Okay, so this is what I'm going to really tell you about, is that coordination is the future. And that's an interesting word, because when it comes to SharePoint and Teams, everyone talks about collaboration, not coordination. So I will be explaining what I mean by this. Everything I'm talking about is in this keynote is on my LinkedIn activity feed, and it also links to my blog. So if you're missing anything on this call, on this keynote, feel free to hit me up, follow me on LinkedIn, and I will actually have all the information you need. Okay, collaboration, comparing collaboration and coordination to the future. So Jason, when it comes to collaboration, give me a couple of words that would you say define collaboration?
Oh, interactive, huh?
I will make this interactive as well. Because a 20-second delay doesn't really work with people, actually. Okay, who else we got here? Okay, somebody's from Baltimore. Very well, Nancy. I get it. Well, Nancy, if you can catch up on this, when you think of collaboration, what do you think? What are the words you think of here, Jason?
Let's see. So if we're talking about technology, the one that seems to be at the forefront is Teams. If we're talking about meetings, video conferencing.
Okay, that's the technology component. What about the human component? Okay, the communication component.
Meetings, working together.
Yeah. But okay, that's all good stuff here. Okay. So collaboration, probably mutual trust. Okay, vulnerability. When we collaborate, we put a document on SharePoint and we ask people to comment on it. I expect people not to say it sucks. Shared values, where you've got that team working together on that common goal. This is what we're trying to do. Interdependent. I do my bit. I hand it over to you. You do your bit. Also with collaboration, there's long-term goals. Like, we've been working on this project for 6-7 months. I always think of one of the best examples of collaboration was there was a group in the 80s who did a song called Walk This Way. Who were the two groups who sung on that? Do you remember this? Or was this a bit before your time?
I'm
okay.
not good with
Run DMC. You heard of Run DMC?
Yes.
Heard of Aerosmith?
Yes.
Okay, so they produced the world-class album Walk This Way. Now, I wasn't working on the album, but you have two teams working together with goals and milestones, and at the end of the day, you have a world-class album. That is a great example of collaboration with a mutual trust, vulnerability, shared values, independent, and long-term. This is what we're doing. And getting the album out of the door. Coordination. If I was mentioning to you coordination, Jason, what would you think of? What
scheduling meetings.
Yep. Well, is it? Okay.
That's the big one for me.
Okay. All right. Okay. I always say coordination is that mutual respect, secure shared goals, independent. Okay, and actually short term. So when you talk about coordination, like a good example is like a help desk, where if I've got technical problems, I might be actually talking to you on meetings. I might be sending emails. But you know what? When we start getting a lot of volume and there's a lot of these coming in, I don't necessarily want the meetings. Okay, I actually don't necessarily want to be talking to people. Okay, I want to be just handing over the tickets to people for people to be structured and get the things done and get it out of the way. So it's a short-term goal. And so therefore the touch points with the other team members are a lot less. Okay, so people need to be acting more independently, and they also need to be knowing their positions. We also need to have the shared goals, okay, on that. And also it needs to be secure, like because I'm not talking to you much, I'm not communicating with you more, okay, I have less meetings, I need to be totally secure that you know what you're doing, you know your position on that. And so that's the sort. So let's just compare what we're talking about here. Mutual trust, mutual respect, all very similar, but they're different on this. Like short-term, long-term goals. A help desk ticket, it's not a project. Okay, just it should last a couple of hours, if not a couple of days, and then it gets done. Okay, on that. Okay, and these are the distinctions of this. Okay, and of course there's pros and cons. I'm not saying each are better or not, and it also depends on cultures. This is our office in New York, okay, and this is our office in India. in some ways we communicate with each other, collaborate with each other, and coordinate, but it's different. So we have a help desk system where there's endless tickets coming in. I don't want to be having meetings with every single team member in the India office, if not the US office. Okay, so that's where we start doing coordination. And that's where we need to really think about what we're doing and how we're doing it and how we can speed up the velocity. These are these guys having fun on the bicycle. Okay, so this is a video, okay, of a pit stop, Formula One, and this is a good example of collaboration. Notice the team, they're talking, they're in different positions, they're asking each other questions. Have we got the tires on correctly? Checking things.
The tires are changed at last. A crewman polishes the windshield as Holland moves away just 67 seconds after he stops.
There you go, 57 seconds, the pit stop, collaboration. Now, this is coordination. Okay, notice there's no management. Notice everybody knows their position. Everyone knows what he's going to do. So it's the same process. The first video was collaboration, much slower. Second video was coordination. So let's just look at this a bit more. Positions, they were using automation as well on things. On this. And so as a result, basically, it's not human, technology is not just replacing, it's complementing. Okay, everybody knows their positions. There's one position, one person per position, and there's actually more people on this team than the other people. Okay, so why am I talking about this word coordination? Okay, when you think about it, all the marketing talks about collaboration. Slack, collaboration. Apple, collaboration. Okay, graduate classes at NYU, collaboration. Okay, so everyone's talking about management science over the last 40 years talks about collaboration on this. Yeah, I'm talking about coordination. On the NYU website, over 10,000 words on courses on collaboration. The reason why I'm talking about this, because this is going to be the future of work. If you look at our business dynamics, teams are getting a bit smaller, okay, but the workload is getting much bigger, okay, and it needs to be faster. You're getting words like DevOps is coming about, where there's that continuous development, continuous releasing on that. So that's that speed. You can't do this with your collaboration. If you want that speed and the velocity, and that throughput, you usually need to coordinate. So currently, at the moment, you can see 90% of the communication is collaboration, 10% is coordination. If we look at the future, it's going to be the dynamic is going to be switched, and you can see this with you can see this with some of the topics that people have been speaking about. Okay, so when is this going to be happening? I touched on this a little bit earlier when we were talking about like a help desk system. If there's a lot of tickets or issues coming up, you might be having meetings on something, and that's your informal and the meetings, and then you need to formalize it by saying, all right, okay, what's this? Let's have statuses. Let's have a technology platform like a help desk system. Okay, and then we're starting moving into help hyper-structured. So like we might want to have things like automation. So if I'm getting certain tickets from certain clients coming in, I can very simply automate those based on the email addresses with business rules, on business rules, and the and tickets can be assigned automatically. Someone's just put a vid on the anonymous chat. Okay, they've got problems with the video network error. I know, technology. What can I say on this? Nancy, working together, very good on that. Okay, so when is this all going to happen? Okay, basically it's that throughput that's happening. on that. And that's where, so there's obviously a process where you've got the collaboration zone where it flips into the coordination zone. And like, if you can look, I actually did this keynote at a conference last week, and even though people weren't necessarily mentioning the word coordination, they were talking about the coordination in terms of the API, Power Automate, things being hyper structured. Okay, Microsoft Graph, the magic, getting information from one place to another place. Okay, that's Jason, you were speaking about AI and Azure. On that, what was that topic about out of interest?
I was showing how you could leverage the Azure Cognitive Services in Office 365 through flows, the new AI Builder tool, and Office add-ins.
All coordination, all speeding up a process, all speeding up the throughput, all probably generating less meetings, less emails, okay, and basically somewhat structured on doing stuff as well. Okay, Azure bots, you know, like now basically when you start going to our website, people have got much more comfortable about interfacing with, interfacing with a bot rather than talking to a human being. Very similar to back in the 80s when it was calling, when you actually had a phone receptionist. Now it's press 1 for support, press 2 for a directory. People are more comfortable with that. Okay, artificial intelligence on that. Okay, I'll be touching a bit on that. Okay, how to make your personal assistant with your Microsoft bot. This is the automation and the coordination part. Microsoft Teams can basically Power Automate. So even though the marketing material is talking about collaborate, people are actually talking a lot about the coordinate part. Okay, so for coordination to happen, you need these three things: adaptability, scalability, and self-management. So when it's scalable, like if you look at that pit stop, okay, that was, I don't know, 7-8 seconds. You could repeat that for 6-7 times a minute, actually. So it's scalable. Okay, things that are adaptable, things when they're adaptable, everybody knew their positions. Okay, so therefore they knew the car coming in. So there was a standardization, and there was something where it was like a rinse and repeat process. Okay, and self-management, you know, that coordination, there was no managers. Everyone knew what they needed to do. You could scale and make it adaptable without line managers stepping into the mix all the time. So what has this all got to do with Office 365? Okay, everything. These are the tools and the development tools which are allowing this all to happen. Okay, so let's just talk about the Office 365. Okay, with the AI. Okay, so this is all these, we say, got the components of AI, which I'll go into bit by bit. Natural language understanding, text analytics, computer vision, speech, video indexer, AI routing, machine teaching, facial recognition, all stuff that speeds up the process, which people are talking about, and the Microsoft toolkit in Azure has all of this. So if we look at what people are actually speaking about, okay, using the AI, Azure functions, Power Automate to classify entries. So that sounds to me like automated tagging of information. Power BI automates. Let's look at understanding natural language, the machine learning service based on natural language. So this is the bots and the Internet of Things, where people are, computers are understanding human words, human conversations, and they're giving you information back. So you're seeing this with chatbots on websites where you're asking, like, where's the status of this order? What is your order number? You give that. This is where your status is. Okay, I don't need to be put on hold for 15 minutes. And I could get this information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is that coordination process. Let's look at text analytics. Okay, this is a text analytics API determining the self-sentiment of a message typed or spoken. Okay, so can you imagine, like, for example, we've got, you're talking to level 1 support, and the call is perhaps being monitored, where perhaps the voice gets a bit louder, gets a little bit upset, maybe then the line manager automatically gets brought into the call. So as a result, immediately the level 1 support feels that they're supported and they're not being escalated. But then, can you imagine, let's just monitor this over 6 months. Let's just see how happy our customers are. Well, let's just monitor the sentiment and the voice tone of all of our customers calling in level 1 support. Suddenly that's how I get my statistics on this. When you get those those surveys, they say from Bank of America, they say, please fill out this survey, and of course you make up all the answers just to get through the whole thing. Okay, this is a bit more accurate on doing this. Computer vision, this is extracting information from images, categorized and processed for visual data, performance, machine assistance. So basically you've got video and you've got pictures, okay, and you're saying, well, this is a person, this is an object, who is this person, what are those objects? So can you imagine that for surveillance and for safety as well, in a factory or a train station, where you can get this information? Okay, so I'm going to show you a short video, and this is based from a GitHub project called Project YOLO. Okay, you only look once. So they actually did this in a real time of a James Bond movie, and all of this is on GitHub. Okay, and they identified every object that was actually being played on the screen. So there's people. Look at the speed of information coming in. Humans process. We've got a man. So the bike's gone off road here. Thing Max. So you can see going. It's recognizing the object where it's bearing on time. So, we can watch the entire James Bond movie for the keynote, but let's get on with the technology, I suppose. But you can see there's a lot of information being processed here, and there's a lot of business decisions that can be actually made with this information hitting, like hitting an Azure server and saying, right, this is a person, this is an engine, a machine going off road on this. Having the emergency services being called where you've got speeding going on. Okay, video indexing to create intelligence insights. So this is going to be quite interesting. For example, you can imagine like when politicians are saying things and it's going to get very difficult for politicians in the near future, because everything is being recorded. An interviewer can ask a question, so what were your thoughts on this? And a politician could say something, and then almost in real time, we can search the last 15, 20 years of the interviews about what that politician said. And the journalist who's interviewing the person can then say, but that's interesting. That's a change of opinion from what you said then. Okay, so you've got, you can actually have the ability to actually almost like Google search videos to say what was actually being sent by Hugh. The other advantage with this, can you imagine like if you're doing a requirements gathering of a project and you've got a 2-hour stakeholder meeting and you want to get the requirements, someone did say this, I'm not too sure, and then basically you can find out immediately on a search when that actually word was being said, and said by who was it. Okay, so when it talks about video, that is now becoming searchable just like a Word document. AI routing for the planners, in terms of the understanding with traffic, multiple stops. This has been around for some time, but it's now been taken up a level where we can not only route where you're going, but we can also optimize based on traffic patterns. Because of course, everybody's now got devices which is hitting the mothership, so we actually know where the speed and where the traffic, where the actual delays are. Machine teaching. Okay, this is where the machine can do deep reinforcement of learning of platforms and build AI models. So I'm going to show you a video which is of a car crash, and I want to just everyone just pay attention. It's not too scary. So this is a Tesla car in California. Okay, so that was a car crash. Okay, now did anyone notice there was a beep in that on that video? So let me just play that again. So wait a minute here. That beep occurred before you visualized the car crash. So therefore therefore your Tesla is actually, but basically with the machine learning, it's identifying crashes before they're happening. So what happened there was that the car had identified, so the current vehicle had identified that the vehicle in front of the vehicle was slowing down abnormally, and therefore the vehicle in front was going to hit it, which it did. So therefore it slowed down before the crash had even happened. On that. So this is the power of actually what we're doing, of where we're doing there, where actually machines are actually complementing our driving skills, and in theory you could say making the world safer as well. Okay, so facial recognition, part of Azure. This is Microsoft content services. We're doing facial recognitions. Okay, comparing photos. So this is a little bit of a video of which I did. This is all on the Microsoft website. Here we've got a picture of myself right now. And then we're going to upload a picture of me at school back in the 80s. Yes, that is me before you actually even wonder. So it's picking up, okay, on male, my age, which is correct. Okay, my emotion. Of course, Microsoft spend millions and millions of dollars to tell you that a teenager is not particularly happy in his life. Okay, accessories and facial hair. So you can see what's going on. Now, can you imagine if you had this going on in an office? You could actually test the morale of people when they're walking in into work. So HR don't need to do surveys. Instantaneously, you could see whether groups, departments are happier than other ones. Or even when you boot up, every computer has a camera. Okay, periodically you could be checking in with your co-workers to see, whether they're happy or or sad, and see what patterns are going on. Okay, and so that can actually help. If you use this technology, that can actually help staff morale. And of course, you couldn't do this doing manual abilities of interviewing your quarterly business reviews, of interviewing everyone and seeing how they are. Okay, now there is actually a little bit more, I wouldn't say of a sinister side to this, but there's a careful side. Okay, so this is a book called by Malcolm Gladwell, who's actually one of my favorite authors. He has a new book out called Talking to Strangers, and they did facial recognition on for people in jail, and I've got no experience of this personally. Okay, people in jail doing bail. So basically, when you go to, when you've been arrested, you go to bail, and the judge will look at like some background, your history. They'll look at your face. They'll look at they'll have a conversation with you, and then they'll sort of grant you bail or not. They actually did an experiment, and they found by looking at people's facial recognition, okay, that the computers were actually 25% more accurate at predicting which applicants would not show up for a trial, okay, or commit further crimes while on bail. So does this mean that human beings should be removed from the process? Absolutely not. I'm not actually suggesting that. That would make the entire justice system completely, so we say, unhumane and, you know, and just I would say very, very cold as it is. But it's very interesting that people sort of think of automation, okay, and AI and machine learning as perhaps repeatable tasks, perhaps for quant guys or data. Okay, but now it's starting to be bringing into so we say the realm to human and also that interpersonal things where you would think, well, a computer wouldn't be able to actually solve this. You know, that requires an expert, a judge. Judges have like 30, 40 years of experience. You would think they would know the human system. They would sort of like know the environment they're working in. And I'm not saying they don't, but it's interesting that a computer system, that the AI using face recognition here, could actually predict more accurately whether people actually show up and commit further crimes. This could, this could reduce the murder rates. If we actually looked at this a bit further on this. The other thing as well, and again, I don't think our society is ready for this, or I hope this does not get. I hope this gets thought through very clearly in a big way about how we actually implement this. But other things about facial recognition was there was an app, and I'm going to show you a video of an interview of a facial recognition. This is an app in Russia, which basically does facial recognition and just tells you about the person you're looking at. And now this actually I found a little bit kind of like scary.
Approacher, no problem. All you need is a smartphone and the application Find Face. Find new friends. Take a picture and wait for the result. Now you're already looking at her profile.
Jason, does the audio come through on this?
Yeah, I'm hearing it. I'm trying to check on the externals right now.
Right. So what's interesting, this is a Russian app, and they're called Find Face, and basically it will do a facial recognition, and then it will hit other social networks that face is on, and then instantaneously tell you about where the person lives, what lifestyle they're doing, where they've actually been. Okay. Now, this is you could say that, well, that's quite smart technology, but that's a big violation of perhaps of privacy by any means. That this person didn't actually ask for this to be actually done. There's no permissions, and also the journalist, the way he's talking about this is saying, well, this is an amazing feat in technology, rather than addressing this is quite an invasion of privacy here. And this is a little bit similar to the conversations we were having 20 years ago when people were saying, oh my word, I do a Google search, or I go on Alta Vista, or I do a search engine. What are the other old search engines you had? Alta Vista, mama.com, there's a few others or whatever on these, where basically suddenly you'll get a picture of yourself from school when you were like 15, and oh my word, this on the internet. Okay, but now we're all very relaxed on this, and in fact, if you're not posting pictures on the internet, you're seeing as a bit of an oddball. Okay, so if you look at this video here, you can see, well, okay, this is quite weird. To me, this is quite a big invasion of privacy here, and it's not even regulated. Okay, but you never know. In 5-10 years, this could all become the whole norm of how we actually use facial recognition, machine learning. Speech authentication. This is the coding about who's saying what. So you actually, just as like looking at a face that unlocks your iPhone. Okay, maybe you just say open iPhone, and it will open up, your iPhone or even your computer as well. Machine, should we say, like Dragon technology, no relation to Soho Dragon. That's been around for like over 25 years. Okay, of speech synthesization hasn't really at all come into the workplace in any serious manner where you're talking into your computer and it's typing the words. Okay, that hasn't done this. But in terms of facial recognition, opening up an iPhone, security, that's what become very much the norm now. Okay, so will speech start doing this as well? Okay. Doing your passwords. So your passwords at the moment can be your typed in, it can be your fingerprint, it can be your eyeball. Okay, it can be your face. Is the voice going to be the next frontier of security authentication? So we look at the future of Office 365 development. Artificial intelligence, all done. Everything here is in Azure Office 365. AR, VR, blockchain, I didn't talk about that. Okay, Internet of Things, cloud, big data, bot. So everything here, which are really the hot subjects of where technology is going in the future, your Office 365, Azure, Microsoft are all over this space. So in summary, like, collaboration isn't going to carry the day. It's got to be coordination. Okay, now someone did actually say it's not looking good for teams. Well, it's not going to look good for teams that are operating in a legacy process. At the end of the day, companies are always going to hire, and it's, you know, if you always say, look at like some of the statistics, like I think 100 years ago, agriculture in America employed 30% of the workforce. Now it's less than 3%, and that's because of automation. As you know, one of the big driving factors is automation, and also the intensity of farming. Those jobs haven't gone away. They've been really just transferred into other skills as a new generation of people have grown up. Like 100 years ago, search engine optimization, web designer, these people, you know, those jobs just didn't exist. Even 10 years ago, some of these jobs just didn't exist. And so new jobs are going to occur, but the speed and the velocity is going to increase. So teams, yeah, it will be working together, but it's going to be doing it a much different way, a much quicker way, and there's going to be more emphasis on actually coordination. Okay, so a couple of references. You can follow me on Twitter. Okay, I do a monthly meetup called Teams Tuesday. Okay, and this we have a lot of MVPs speaking purely about teams, like security. We did it on Tuesday. We're talking about compliance, particularly with third-party products on that. And if you've got any questions, as of myself, speaker feedback, hit the QBR code, and the event feedback, hit a question on that. Jason, what were you speaking about in this for this fairly virtual?
My session on the first day? Yes. It was an intro to AI in Azure and Office 365.
Mm-hmm. And what was the business cases on that?
So it was really more a series of demos just to show how to use the different services. So it started off with a sentiment analysis tool baked into Outlook, which would score how positive your email was before you sent it. There was some image recognition, so I was dropping a bunch of images into a library, and Flow was extracting data about it, tagging them and captioning them, which had some cool features like it was able to detect the celebrities that were in the picture. Right. We did some stuff with AI Builder. We showed some chatbots.
So a lot of this stuff I'm touching on here on that facial recognition. Mm-hmm. And you know, like it's like anything which is new, there's always going to be positives and negatives. Like Hollywood always presents technology as like a doomsday sort of like Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator approach, and you know, and we've yet to see that really in the last, you know, in the last like 500 years with new technology. So I can see that, you know, in terms of the celebrities, that's great. But you imagine if you start hitting like an API, which can then go into anything like Facebook, your Facebook, you can start getting a lot of data mining and information. So you can imagine for HR, okay, people applying with their resume, okay, in their LinkedIn profile with that photo, you can then start doing some very deep data mining on that person about what they're doing on social media, on all of the platforms, on Instagram and Twitter. Okay, and that could almost like start being used as a filtering process as well. That would quite definitely take that's definitely going to take like HR to another level on that. Okay, someone's complaining about the comment about Verizon, Teams, Edge, or Chrome browser or iPhone. That is one, that's one ticket tech support there. Is it the Verizon, the Teams client, Edge, or Chrome? Very frustrating on that. So Geek Squad, I think, is probably the answer to that one, actually.
Yeah, we seem to be having intermittent issues. Some people are able to see just fine, and then it seems it might be giving away for others.
Right, okay. And who are the other speakers today?
We have quite a few people, actually. We have 9 presenters today. I can actually show that slide if you.
Let's go back then, yes.
If you would like. All right.
Oh, I stopped sharing?
That's fine. I can put this one up. So this is the lineup for today. It's a little bit of a shorter schedule because we removed one of the tracks, and then at the end we will all come back here to the Eagle virtual room to do the closeout of the raffle. So again, to the attendees who may have come in a little bit late, we're going to be doing a random drawing. At the end, we're going to give away a $25 Amazon gift card, and we will be pulling from the list of registered attendees. So if you are logged in anonymously and you would like to register, just go to the site, put in your information, and we will be in the next 20 minutes taking the list that we have available and using that one for the raffle.
So what is the raffle? I'm assuming you've got a good juicy Xbox.
No, it's just a $25 Amazon gift card.
You haven't got hand sanitizer?
That would have been a good idea, yeah. With the M365
N95 masks. Yes.
We should have looped you into the planning sessions.
Well, if you can get hold of that, yeah. On that. Actually, to Jeff, I actually co-wrote a book with him actually on SharePoint disaster recovery. That's one of the book. He's one of the authors, the co-authors of that book as well. He's actually in Philly, in the Philly area. There you've got some great topics actually on this, which I yesterday I was listening in actually while doing some work on that. And are these actually being recorded as well?
They are being recorded. The plan is to publish them on a YouTube channel. We will be reaching out to the presenters after the event and asking them for their permission before we do so. And there just needs to be some editing of the clips. They're all one continuous feed, so we need to split them up. And so it's going to take a little while before we publish everything.
Right, understood totally on that. Okay, it's interesting with the workflows, with SharePoint 2010 workflows now being discontinued. Jerry's upgrading your SharePoint 2000 workflows is a very topical presentation because the clock is ticking on that.
Yes, it is.
On that, and we've seen some serious workflows which we've migrated. It's almost a bit like, why did you do that? It clearly started off as a very short 4 or 5 steps SharePoint designer workflow, but over like 2 or 3 years, it's just morphed into sort of like something like some mega Visio diagram on this. We've seen that. We've been doing that a few times as well, and with the info path migrations as well. And then of course then you got the intro to CDS's inside of Flow as well on that. So here's a couple of questions, but what's your favorite Office 365 feature?
Oh, my favorite.
Or tool?
Let's see. I gravitate towards the development stuff, so I've been finding it interesting that they've been baking in AI into a lot of the different services. We started seeing it a little bit in Delve, and then it started spreading out into others. And then there's just like subtle features in things like PowerPoint, so that design ideas button.
The design ideas is good, because when you've got the complete non-creative types like myself, I did that on some of the slides here on the design. It's just great to just sort of like figure that out and just add almost like a little bit of a splash.
Yeah. So yeah, I tend to like how they're baking that stuff into all of their services. And then obviously with my presentation there, I started digging into it a little bit more and just seeing how we could leverage them in day-to-day work with, simple proof of concepts just to kind of get the idea. But yeah, the whole AI movement is very, very interesting.
Well, I think if you look at the next 10 years, okay, AI is obviously the big thing. AI, machine learning, blockchain, which I know what it does. But it's like when the internet first came about. It was kind of like, wow, you can now buy a book online. It was almost like, well, so what? There's a bookstore across the street. But now everyone's got into the groove of buying that. Same as when ATMs came out. My mum said, why would I want to wait outside in the rain to go to an ATM to get my money? Okay, well, I can go inside and talk to somebody. But of course, now everyone's using it. So blockchain, I can see where it is, but I just feel sometimes it's almost like a solution looking for a problem. I haven't seen anything, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I haven't seen a real aha moment where I realised, wow, that is actually pretty impressive. I don't know about you, but I've not seen a business case which I've looked at and I thought, yeah, absolutely, that's a game changer.
Yeah, I haven't dug into that category all too much. So, in the beginning when it was the hot buzzword, I looked into it, but it's been a while since I've looked in. I'm finding it very interesting though, the ethics behind AI. It's only as good as the data that you provide. So if you're not providing it accurate data or good data, your results can get really skewed.
Well, that's like in anything though, isn't it?
Right.
This is kind of like where there was a movie in the 90s called Lawnmower Guy or Man or something, and basically his ID gets for some reason the government think he's died or something, whatever, and bit by bit his identification gets wiped out of the bank, the voting system, the house, and there was a huge knock-on effect on everything. And it was almost as if this is in the late 90s, where you can now almost see that now with things like, if you look up with the AI, well, you've got a bad haircut and then you're going into the airport and then your iPhone, you can't get past security because your face doesn't, your haircut's different. You can't open up your iPhone, etc., etc. It just go, and so the frustrations just go on and on and on.
Right.
But you saw about the data. Well, when we talk about the judge, they were with the automation there. That was actually looking at, that was 25% more accurate. Okay, now that was a statistic I got. So 25% more accurate. Okay, now overall, was there any major outlining activity where saying people were innocent and they were actually these people were fine, but they were committing more serious crimes. Now that did not come up in the book of what Malcolm Gladwell was talking about. Malcolm Gladwell really has will have a premise and make a statement of of something which you're not aware of, which is exactly what I said in this keynote. Now I'd be interested in what's the background and the context of what else was going on in that experiment, on how good and how bad or how inaccurate was the facial recognition.
Yeah, facial recognition is the one that makes me the most nervous, because I've seen a lot of instances of false positives. We had the issue a few years ago where it was being reported that the iPhones that unlock facial feature was unlocking phones for a specific demographic, specific race, and it wasn't able to tell the faces apart. I tried some of the facial recognition stuff on myself, and I saw some questionable results. So
here's a question for you on facial recognition. If I took a picture of you right now, and then I've got your iPhone and I pointed it at the picture, would I be able to open up your iPhone?
I don't believe so. I'm not sure, but I don't believe so. I think there's some. I think it could tell when it's looking at a picture versus a three-dimensional.
Okay, so it can pick up probably my nose is like 1.5 centimeters away from my cheek. It can pick up the contours of the face, I'm assuming then.
I believe they're being designed that way.
You'd certainly hope so. That's amazing.
I would hope so, yeah.
On that. That would actually be a major flaw on that. Yeah. Okay. The other thing I was going to say was quantum computing, because this processing is all very well, but you need to have more throughput and more oomph, more horsepower, and the quantum computing. That's obviously what everybody's trying to do. With Intel and all the chip manufacturers. Okay, because there now would suddenly, be a quantum leap in processing power, which means that we basically talks about the automation part, takes it to a greater level. Particularly now, when you look at, so we say, like this whole COVID, and you look at the finding cures. Okay, you're obviously using modeling to do this, but if you can increase your modeling ability by your data modeling by tenfold, then that's a phenomenal thing.
Yeah.
I'm definitely on that. And so, who is the next speaker then? Person coming up?
We have Johnny Lopez coming up, and he's actually waiting in the wings here.
All right, shall I let him in and let him? You can let him warm up his presentation then.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Peter. I'm doing jumping jacks over here to get warmed up, so I'm trying to stretch out the abs.
Right. Okay. Okay. So even though I was the keynote, okay, I'm the warm-up act for Johnny Lopez.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Peter. Appreciate you keynoting today's event. And final reminder for everyone: we have 7 minutes left before we cut off the list on the registration. If you are registered, if you're not registered, if you're in here anonymously and would like to be added into the raffle drawing, just go ahead, go to the site, hit the register button, and put in your information, and you'll be added.
Thanks so much, Jason. And,
all right.
Good luck, Johnny.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we will be beginning with Johnny in the next 7 minutes or so, and we have the other 2 rooms available right now for people to start joining. And you can go enter whichever sessions you'd like to catch next.